This meeting is being recorded.
Yes, Doc.
Right. So for this morning, we're going to talk about management of bipolar disorders. I have prepared some questions, so I hope some of you participate while the rest would listen. Okay. So for the objectives, at the end of this session, the third-year medical student must be able to differentiate the diverse etiological factors underlying bipolar mania and depression, explain the principles and process of diagnosis of bipolar disorders, discuss the evidence-based pharmacotherapy for mania and depression, and lastly, describe the role and application of the different psychosocial interventions. Okay, so for the first question, who could read and answer? You could raise your hand. Who wants to read and answer? Anyone from the class?
Doc, may I try?
Okay. Is it Kyle talking?
Yes, but Doc.
Okay.
So, which of the statements about bipolar 1 disorder is correct? A, bipolar 1 disorder occurs more commonly in women than in men. B, manic episodes are common in women while depressive episodes are common in men. C, the mean age of bipolar 1 disorder is around 30 though it may range from childhood to over 50 years in rare cases. The bipolar 1 disorder is exclusively diagnosed in individuals under the age of 40. Is the answer plus C?
Okay, so let's see what's the correct answer. Thank you, Kyle. So the correct answer is letter C. The mean age onset for bipolar 1 disorder is around 30 years, but it could range from childhood to 50 years of age in some cases. So a review, okay, so this slide was taken already from the lecture that I posted in Canvas. So this is the annual incidence of bipolar illness. As you can see, there is an equal prevalence in both sexes. But manic episodes would be more commonly seen in men and then depressive episodes in women. Okay. Second question, who could read? Any volunteers before I randomly choose from the group?
Ako na lang po to.
Wait,
To describe mania as a defensive reaction to depression, making use of defenses such as omnipotence. A. Carl Abraham. B. Sigmund Freud. C. Melanie Klein. D. Heinz Kohut. B. Sigmund Freud.
Okay, let's see what's the correct answer. So the correct answer is Melanie Klein, but all of them kasi this concept is based from the psychoanalytic perspective. So Sigmund Freud was the one who founded the psychoanalytic movement, but it's specifically Melanie Klein who said that mania is a defensive reaction to depression, and manic defenses like having grandiosity, such as omnipotence, would be an example of how mania is manifested as a reaction to depression. And then here are the other psychosocial theories also. So Carl Abraham postulated that manic episodes reflect an inability to tolerate a developmental tragedy, such as a loss of a parent. Okay. Thank you, Angelo. Okay, third question.
Hello, Doc. I can read this one. A 25-year-old patient is brought to the emergency department after a week of elevated mood, decreased need for sleep, pressured speech, and grandiose ideas that cause significant impairment in work and social functioning. Which diagnosis best fits this presentation? I think it would be BPOC.
Okay, so let's see if it's letter B. Letter B is correct. It's bipolar 1 disorder. So as you can see, the patient presented with elevated mood. This is criterion A of bipolar 1 disorder. And then she had 3 other symptoms in criterion B. That's the decreased need for sleep, pressured speech, and grandiose ideas. And lastly, there was already impairment in her work and social functioning. So the correct answer would be bipolar 1 disorder. So there. This is the criteria in summary. So remember, for bipolar 1, it should cause marked impairment. It should last for at least a week. If less than a week, probably because the patient has been hospitalized already, or it could present with psychosis as well. Okay, question 4. Who wants to try to answer question 4?
Look, ako na lang po. A 22-year-old student reports a 2-year history of periods with increased energy, decreased need for sleep, and rapid speech, alternating with times of low mood and fatigue, though none of these episodes have met full criteria for mania or major depression. What is the most likely diagnosis? B po, bipolar 2 disorder.
How about the others? Thank you, Paolo. Do the others agree? Could you type in the chat box your answers? Okay, so the correct answer for this case would be cyclothymia. Okay, so why cyclothymia? Because the patient presented with symptoms of mania and depression, but did not fully meet the criteria for both conditions. So with adjustment disorder, usually there is a stressor. The symptoms of depression or anxiety or irritability they present within the 3 months from exposure to the stressor, and the symptoms resolve as soon as the stressor is removed. Now, with bipolar 2 disorder, the person must have at least one hypomanic episode or one major depressive episode. But it was already mentioned here na hindi yan na-meet yung criteria, yung full criteria for depression. And then dysthymia is persistent depressive disorder. This one would have symptoms of depression but would not meet the full criteria of major depressive disorder as well. The symptoms last for 2 years. So the correct answer would be cyclothymia. Okay, so for cyclothymia, the person would present with numerous periods of hypomanic symptoms but would not meet the full hypomanic criteria, or numerous periods of depressive symptoms, which again would not meet the full major depressive criteria. Symptoms should be present at least half the time with no symptom-free period greater than 2 months. Okay? And then symptoms would still cause clinically significant distress or impairment in their work area or social functioning. So the correct answer for this case would be cyclothymia. Okay. Who wants to answer the 5th question? Question number 5. Any volunteers?
I can read it, Doc.
Okay, Cherish.
A 27-year-old woman initially presented with major depressive episodes and later developed symptoms of mania. If left untreated, her manic episodes may last around 3 months, and if she were to experience 4 or more episodes per year, how would her illness course be classified? I would say C po, rapid cycling.
Okay, so the choices are between mixed episode, seasonal pattern, rapid cycling, and cyclothymia. Could the rest put their answers in the chat? Okay. So the correct answer is rapid cycling. So how does rapid cycling differ from the other choices? For mixed episode, the person would present with both symptoms of mania and depression. Okay, so there's an overlap. It's happening at the same time. The symptoms occur simultaneously with mixed episode. With seasonal pattern, the symptoms occur during a specific time of the year. So for example, the patient presents with depression when it's winter, or they have manic episodes during the summer. It's usually the case now when it's seasonal pattern. We've discussed cyclothymia. Cyclothymia would be alternating symptoms of depression and mania within 2 years. Okay, so the correct answer would be rapid cycling. So it's alternating episodes also. Okay, so 5 to 15% of those with bipolar disorder have 4 or more episodes per year, classified as rapid cyclers. So for this one, they meet the full criteria, unlike with cyclothymia. Okay. Let's go to the sixth question. Who wants to answer? Or who wants to read the case? Anyone?
Doc, ako na lang po.
Okay,
At
and
24
sige.
A 24-year-old man is brought to the ER by his family due to decreased need for sleep, pressured speech, grandiose delusions, and physically aggressive behavior toward household members. What is the most appropriate next step in management? Uh, B po, advice admission.
Advice admission. Okay, so the other choices, first, prescribe outpatient antipsychotics. C, start weekly psychotherapy. And then D, reassure the families and schedule follow-up. So, Angelo, why do you think it's important to advise admission?
Doc, because there's physical aggressive behavior toward household members. So, baka yung behavior po na yung symptom na manifest na physical aggression, parang to prevent further harm to the parent, to the family, and towards the patient po. Kasi if we can if we don't monitor po the symptoms po of the patient, lalo na pag may physical aggressive behavior na po, baka it might complicate po the situation po. So it's better na to advise admission, at least we can monitor the patient po. And yung compliance po ng patient ma-monitor rin po with regards sa medication na ibibigay po natin sa patient.
Okay. So that's correct. No, the best answer, the next course of action in this case would be to advise admission. So again, hospitalization is advised. It would be best for treating patients with severe mania in the hospital. Aggressive dosing can be done, and the goal is to achieve an adequate response relatively quickly. So going back to the case, we can see that this patient has bipolar mania based on the symptoms. And then this man already poses a threat to the safety of the people around him or even to himself. It's stated here that there's physical aggression. That's why you need to advise admission. So if you notice that there's a danger already to the self or to the people around, you immediately advise for admission. Okay, at least there you could immediately initiate the patient with pharmacotherapy. And then besides pharmacotherapy, you can also do psychotherapy. You can't just reassure the family, okay? You can't send home the patient with the severity of the symptoms. Okay. Seventh question. Who wants to try to answer the seventh question? Is someone raising their hand?
Look, I can read po.
Okay, Ken.
Okay. We have a 28-year-old man brought to the ER with 1 week history of decreased need for sleep, irritability, pressured speech, and aggressive behavior. He has been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and impaired kidney function. What is the most appropriate medication to start? Um, it's between lithium and valproic acid. Pero I would pick valproic acid because the patient has impaired kidney function. So, letter B po.
Okay, so your final answer is valproic acid.
Yes po.
Okay, how about the others? Well, there's 250 of you and then only few people are participating. What are the rest doing? Okay, so the correct answer would be valproic acid. Okay. So why not lithium? Lithium is the gold standard for managing acute mania, but it causes a lot of toxicity. So in this case, the patient was described to have impaired kidney function. Lithium is renally excreted, okay? So it would cause damage to the kidneys. So that can't be the answer. And then sertraline is an antidepressant. So if you give antidepressant to someone who is in an acute manic episode, you will worsen the manic symptoms. And then buspirone is for treatment of anxiety disorders. So the correct answer would be valproic acid. This would be the recommendations for pharmacologic treatment of acute mania. So that would include lithium, divalproex. Divalproex is another formulation of valproic acid. You could also give antipsychotics like olanzapine, risperidone, quetiapine. Okay. So again, lithium carbonate, the prototypical mood stabilizer. This would be the mechanism of action. So since it causes a lot of toxicity, it's important to monitor the blood lithium levels in the patient. And the target range would just be between 0.6 to 1.2. Okay. So 8 out of 10 questions. Who wants to answer?
Ako na lang.
Okay.
Which of the following best describes the mechanism of action of valproic acid in the treatment of bipolar disorder? I think inhibits voltage-gated sodium channels and increases brain GABA levels by inhibiting GABA transaminase.
Okay. So let's see what's the correct answer. So it's letter B. The MOA of valproic acid is to inhibit voltage-gated sodium channels and to increase brain GABA levels by inhibiting GABA transaminase. So the neuronal membranes are stabilized with this MOA. In the chat box, for letter A, which group of medications has this mechanism of action? Blocks dopamine, D2 receptors, and 5-HT2A receptors. Who could answer in the chat box? So which group of medications has that mechanism of action for letter A? D2 receptor antagonist and serotonin antagonist as well. Okay, so that's correct. Majority of the antipsychotics, no, that would be their mechanism of action. And then for letter C, which group? It's obvious already for letter C. Yes, so SSRI. And then for letter D, this is a combination of your SNRIs and your NMDA antagonists. Okay, so for question 8, valproic acid, it's letter B. Okay. So the MOA would be to enhance GABA activity by modulating voltage sensitive sodium channels. Valproic acid has already surpassed lithium in the use for acute mania because it's generally safer. So if we have lithium assay, for those taking lithium, there's also valproic acid assay that we request after a week of intake of patients. And the target range would be between 750 to 2,500 milligrams per day. And then if you're planning to start medication, valproic acid specifically, to a patient, you use this computation, 15 to 20 milligrams per kilograms. So that would be the dosing at the start. Okay, second to the last question, who wants to answer? Can read and answer the case. So Anna, could you explain why it's letter C?
I think because the patient is
Could you read the question first?
sorry. A 27-year-old woman canceled her wedding abruptly and impulsively flew to Paris. 2 weeks later, she presents with low mood, loss of energy, and feelings of hopelessness consistent with bipolar depression. Which of the following is the most appropriate treatment? From what I remember from our lecture, quetiapine has the best evidence among the antipsychotics for use for bipolar depression.
Okay, thank you. So it is, no, the answer would be quetiapine. Haloperidol is a typical antipsychotic. It's usually given for acute mania to control agitation. While the other three, risperidone, quetiapine, and olanzapine, they are atypical antipsychotics already, but quetiapine is specific for bipolar depression. It's the first line treatment for bipolar depression according to guidelines. So again, it has the best evidence. The target dose for quetiapine as a mood stabilizer would be 300 milligrams per day. But then side effects include weight gain and sedation. At lower doses, quetiapine at 25 to 50 milligrams, it acts as a sedative, as a hypnotic. And then greater than 300, because quetiapine's maximum dose is 800 milligrams, it can be used for psychosis. So those with schizophrenia also are given high doses of quetiapine. But for depression, 300 milligrams would be the target dose. And then other medications proven to be effective for bipolar depression would still be olanzapine, lurasidone, and cariprazine. Okay. So for the final question, who wants to answer? Anyone?
Doc, ako na lang po. A 32-year-old man with bipolar disorder has been stabilized on medication but frequently stops taking it because he does not fully understand the illness or the importance of long-term treatment. The psychiatrist decides to add a psychosocial intervention to improve adherence and illness awareness. Which intervention is most appropriate? Psychoeducation.
Psychoeducation. Okay, thank you, Angelo. How about the others? Okay, so let's see if Angelo is right. So the most appropriate intervention for this case would be psychoeducation. CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, is usually done with patients who have depression and who have cognitive distortion, so negative beliefs about the self, others, or the future. So you make use of CBT to challenge those negative distortions. But for this case, the issue is poor adherence of the medication and then the poor understanding also, lack of awareness of his condition. So the best thing to do would be to psychoeducate the patient. Electroconvulsive therapy is not a psychosocial intervention. It is a biologic treatment. You only make use of this for treatment-resistant cases or for intractable depression. And then psychodynamic psychotherapy, this is usually a long-term treatment that would focus on resolving issues in the childhood, and familial relations. So the best answer would be psychoeducation. Here are the other psychosocial interventions recommended for bipolar disorder. So you have CBT, and then you have interpersonal and social rhythm therapy, and then family-focused therapy. Because the role of the family is also vital when it comes to managing patients with bipolar disorder. So again, for psychoeducation, you provide information on the illness, so how it presents, the course, the prognosis, the importance of treatment, and then you help the patient also come up with different coping mechanisms. So skills that they need to develop is to detect some warning signs and then how to manage those symptoms, how to manage their stress as well, and then problem-solving skills. Okay. So that's the last of the questions. To summarize, the difference between the three disorders, bipolar 1, bipolar 2, and cyclothymia. For bipolar 1, you just need at least one manic episode. For bipolar 2, you need hypomania, at least one hypomanic episode, and one major depressive episode. Then for cyclothymia, the patient would present with symptoms of hypomania and depression for at least 2 years in adults and then at least 1 year in children and adolescents, but they should not meet the full criteria for a manic or a major depressive episode. Okay. So for mania, the duration lasts for a week or more, or any duration as long as the patient has been admitted to the hospital. And then no mania for both bipolar 2 and cyclothymia. In terms of hypomanic episode, it is not required for diagnosis of bipolar 1 disorder. For bipolar 2 disorder, it must be present. Symptoms must last for at least 4 consecutive days, but less than a week. Okay. And then for depression, also happens in bipolar 1 disorder, but it is not required. It is required in bipolar 2 disorder, so at least one major depressive episode. And then functional impairment, those with bipolar 1 disorder, they are severely impaired. No? So that usually they are advised admission or they could present with psychotic features. So either they have hallucinations, delusions, or disorganized behavior. For bipolar 2 disorder, they're usually less severe than mania. So there's no hospitalization required, no psychosis. So at times, especially when the person presents with hypomanic episode, they think they're actually being very productive or their mood has improved. So you have to screen for that. And then for cyclothymia, there would be chronic fluctuating moods, but no full syndromal episodes, but still with functional impairment. Okay, so this would be the recommended pharmacotherapy for the different phases of bipolar disorder. So you have lithium valproic acid or divalproex, and your atypical antipsychotics for acute mania. So most of the atypical antipsychotics here, like risperidone, olanzapine, and quetiapine, they could cause sedation, which would be helpful for patients who are agitated or who present with decreased need for sleep. And then aripiprazole is a partial dopamine agonist, so it could also work now for mania and for depression. So it adjusts in such a way that when your dopamine is low, aripiprazole will increase the dopamine. Or when your dopamine is high, aripiprazole will decrease it. But it's primarily used for acute mania. And then for bipolar depression, quetiapine is most recommended, 300 milligrams. Lithium also, it has been known to prevent suicide because it specifically addresses the impulsivity of patients and also hopelessness. Okay, that's why it's good for patients with bipolar depression. And then lamotrigine could also be used for bipolar depression, lurasidone as monotherapy, and then lastly, olanzapine, usually combined with fluoxetine, but fluoxetine is an antidepressant. So antidepressants are not advised to be given as monotherapy in patients with bipolar disorder. And then for maintenance treatment, the case is usually you continue whatever you have used in the acute phase, not unless the person develops some side effects. So those recommended for maintenance would be still lithium, valproic acid, lamotrigine, and then your atypical antipsychotics. Okay, so these are the references. Are there any questions? Are there any questions regarding the lecture? None? Okay, so that's it for this morning. Thank you for attending the lecture, and especially for those who participated in the Q&A. You can go if you don't have any other concerns.
Thank you po, Doc.
Thank you po, Doc.
Thank you po, Doc.